Welcome back to my channel. It's Hillary Jubilee. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a really vulnerable video for me to be posting. And yeah, as you can tell by the title, I have broken up with my specific person, with my boyfriend of 2.5 years. And this video is to address that because a lot of my channel is talking about specific people, and I want to talk about how the idea of a specific person and manifesting one can be toxic. So I just want to give a trigger warning because those are a thing nowadays. Trigger warning is going to be for narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, and cheating. Okay, so that's my trigger warning. So where do I begin with this? So I want to, start by saying that I had a feeling of intuition in my gut pretty much the entire time that I was with my ex-boyfriend now. This happened about 5 or 6 days ago, okay? So I had an inner knowing that I ignored for 2.5 years. And the reason that this is so vulnerable for me to be talking about and posting, as you can imagine, is because of like my channel and how I talk about manifesting a specific person, and I have a specific video about recreating your SP. And it's not to say that I don't believe that that is all possible. There are different versions of people, and they will show up how you assume them to be. I'm not saying that I don't believe that anymore, but I am saying that there are levels to this shit, and it's not just law of assumption and that's the end all be all. It's like our little egos are not, we don't know everything. We don't know what the highest good might be. And so it's like that saying, like, when you're manifesting something and you're saying this or something better, or like for the highest good of all involved, instead of being so honed in on like, I need my romantic love to show up in this exact package and look like be this exact person. My perspective on that has shifted quite a bit since this experience, because it's so ego-based. It's like, okay, you're closing yourself off to all other possibilities. It's like, this one person, I like them, or I want to see what I can do. Like, no matter what the situation is, it's like, okay, you have your eye on somebody and you want to see if you can manifest them. It's like, I've been studying A Course in Miracles lately. So if you don't know what that is, I'll definitely be talking about it more and more. But it's essentially a massive 3-part book. There's a text, there's a workbook for students, which is 365 lessons, one for each day of the year, and a workbook for teachers. So there's 3 sections, massive book. It looks like a Bible, like thin pages like a Bible, and it uses traditional Christian language in a non-religious way, just kind of like how Neville Goddard talks about, like uses the words Christ and God, but he doesn't use that in a Christian way, right? So similar to that language. So I've been studying A Course in Miracles a lot, and in A Course in Miracles, basically it's like self-study psychotherapy. So shifting your thought system from fear-based ego thinking to the Holy Spirit, or, God-based love thinking, okay? So it's undoing the ego, changing your thought system from fear to love, essentially, okay? And in this book, it says that like creating something like from the ego can be misguided. And I feel that so hard right now. Like that, anyway, so I tend to go all over the place, but what I was saying was like, this or something better. Like I've heard coaches on YouTube talk about this or something better, and it being like, no, like I want what I want and I'm gonna get what I want. And yes, it is possible to get whatever you want. With God, all things are possible. And like your ego mind and your ego self and your like little desires can be fulfilled, but it may not be what you think it will be if you're not. It's like a fine balance between your desires, and realizing your desires, and also surrendering and like a co-creating process with God. So that's what I have to say about that. That is kind of my new perspective on manifestation. Yes, you can create whatever you want. Yes, you can get your SP to text you. Yes, you can get your SP to show up and be a different version and bring you flowers and all this. But is that for your highest good? You don't know. You don't know. Like, your intuition will tell you whether something is good. Like, you will get a feeling whether you're drawn to something or you're repelled from it. And if you're ignoring that feeling and just manifesting something or trying to create something based on your ego, then it may not turn out to be the best. So as I was saying, levels. So I've also heard a coach on YouTube talk about intuition being bullshit, and it just being like you having a feeling about something that you already were going to create. Like you've already created it and you're getting a feeling that it's like if you get a bad feeling about something, it's like it's bullshit because it's just you creating that. It's like, no, like that is the way that the universe speaks to you, or God speaks to you, whatever word you want to use. That is the way that it communicates with you, is your inner feeling and your inner knowing. So that was a huge learning lesson for me, to never ignore that again. And like when you are ignoring your intuition, it is a very uncomfortable feeling and you feel out of alignment. And so that's partially why I haven't been posting on YouTube that often, because I feel like I'm not being authentic, because I feel like I'm in a relationship that isn't right. But I just kept on going. I just ignored it. And there's pieces to that where like he would gaslight me, and then I would gaslight myself because of that. And so like there is an element of like emotional abuse and manipulation that's really fucked up. And so it's partially that, and then it was partially like having this channel and knowing about the law of assumption and just being like, well, I'm creating it all, so I should be able to create the best version of him. And he did show up in certain ways, like he would, like, I've manifested him bringing me flowers, not these ones, in the past, like, or I would affirm for marriage and he would get down on one knee, which was part of his like love bombing, which is like something that narcissists do. So like I would affirm for things that I wanted and they would show up through him, but I still had this knowing, this inner knowing. And because I ignored it so long and I ignored so many red flags throughout the relationship, like if I just listed off all of the red flags to you right now, you'd be like, okay, like you're a fucking idiot. Like, why did you stay? Like, it's quite obvious. Now that I'm out of it, it's quite obvious. But when you're in it, I don't know if you've ever experienced a narcissist before or been manipulated by somebody with narcissistic tendencies, but it is very charismatic. And when you have feelings for somebody, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain unless you've been through it, and it is like, it's like a layer of shame. Trying not to cry. It's like, yeah, it's hard to explain. But anyway, if I listed the red flags, didn't have any friends. Completely avoided my family and my friends. In like fights, he would basically say that he's worth more than I am. I'm higher value than you. Everything was about appearance. When I met him, I was like 30 pounds overweight, and he's like, I could never date a fat person. There's just like, it goes on and on and on. Like, when my cat was in the vet, I was really distraught, and he's saying, you're too emotional, it's just a cat. Like, shit like that I ignored and allowed for a prolonged period of time. So anyway, it's really messed up energy, and it ended in me finding out that he was in a full-on committed relationship with somebody else at the same time. And he was telling us both he wanted to marry us. He showed us both this diamond ring, the same ring. I ended up speaking with her. He was trying to get us both pregnant at the same time. What else? I was supposed to go to Mexico with him. It didn't work out because I have some stuff in my past where I can't go through the States just yet for like another 2 years. And so last minute, like 2 days before the trip, I found out I couldn't go with him, and she went with him instead. And then like there were probably other people too, but she was like the last 6 months of him and I's 2.5-year relationship. And so like the whole thing was based on a lie. So the reason I'm saying that in this video that the SP or specific person community can be toxic is because like I said, like part of the reason that I stayed so long, like I'm not saying that is the reason, but like the mindset of I'm creating it all. So like he only reflects how I feel within. So it was like, okay, well, all of the red flags and shit, it's like I didn't want to put energy on them because I was like, oh, I'll just multiply them. But it's also like another perspective of what are you allowing to continue? And I don't know if you've ever heard of Anita May. She has a podcast called the Manifesting Money Podcast. And in her podcast, she said multiple times, people are the biggest energy blocks. And I would hear her say that, and it would like, you know, like I'd be like, oh, it's so like an inner conflict all the time because I knew that it wasn't right, but I would just like, because of like the way that he would manipulate and gaslight things, I would do it to myself. So I'd be like, oh, well, like, he's like, that, I don't know, like I would just like deny things in my mind. I don't know what it is. Like, it's really messed up. Anyway, so Anita May and her podcast, love her. Would always say people are the biggest energy blocks. And like, it's true. Like, I just feel a weight has been lifted off of me. Like, it's just stagnant, negative, toxic energy that has been removed from my life. Thank God. So yeah, that's that. So understanding that you create your own reality. So like, I very much feel like a victim in some ways because I didn't know just how bad it was until like 5 days ago. Yeah. So I don't want to like, I'm definitely not going to stay in victim mode. I'm going to use this as a lesson on what not to allow in my life and what behavior, like to be more aware of my intuition and not ignore things, because just because you love somebody does not mean that they are right for you. So if you need permission to allow that to sink in, I hope that I have helped you by making this video, because one thing that I always admire in other people who show up online is authenticity and being really clear and honest about what they are going through. And so I'm going to start doing that starting with this video. And looking back as well, like it's not to say that like all of my previous videos are a lie. Everything that I said in them I meant, but when I would talk about my SP, I would have this like inner conflict feeling of like, I did love him a lot and I thought he loved me, but I don't think that he really did, because he just completely used me for his own needs. But yeah, so not to say that I think that all my like previous videos that like mention him are a lie. I just think that I was ignoring myself, my true self, and I shoulda, coulda, like, not gonna say that, but like I obviously wish that I left earlier so that I could have been propelled forward faster. But it was pretty miserable. Like at times, like it would be like, I thought we loved each other. I loved him very much. And like, so it's a nice feeling to like love somebody, I guess. But then it was also constant disappointments because it was just like constant broken promises. I've been watching a lot of Dr. Ramani's videos on narcissism, and I'm educating myself about it now and like trying to heal from it and move on. But I guess I just like didn't know that there were people out in the world. I mean, objectively I knew, but like I didn't think that I would attract that type of person into my life for some reason. And so I just like assume that he was as honest as I was, even though there were weird red flags like throughout. I just was like, oh, like what he's saying must be true. I like believed him right up until the end when I like spoke to this other woman about their relationship. So yeah. But anyways, this is actually a really exciting time because I'm just really excited on what I will create next. And I think only good can come from this. Yeah, I'm just really excited about what's to come. I feel like this gross, like heavy energy has been lifted off my shoulders, and yeah. So to conclude, I think my channel will be going in like a slightly different direction. I will still be talking about manifestation, maybe just more general, you know, healthy habits, manifestation, lifestyle, fitness, manifesting in general still, but I don't think I'm gonna be talking about specific people anymore like that, because I think now, I mean, it's gonna depend on your particular situation. Like you will know in your gut whether something feels right or not. And it might feel right at one time and then you might change your mind, and that's okay too. But I think like leaving it open to your highest good, or for the highest good of all, allows God to do what God can do. Your little tiny ego mind does not know your highest and best outcome. You can only see what's in front of you and you're boxing yourself off. That is my new perspective on specific people. I hope you join me on the journey going forward. If not, that's okay too. And to really like conclude that again, I was just watching this video. I can't remember the guy's name. He has a really cool story, like from homeless to millionaire, and he like went to jail, and he had a really cool story about getting out of jail and blah blah blah. But he said this thing about like your thoughts are the seeds, and the feeling is the water and the sunshine, and feeling is the secret. So like whatever you're thinking is fueled by whatever the feeling is. So for example, in my situation, there was an underlying unworthiness still there, which I can see that now, because otherwise none of that would have happened. If I had felt worthy, I wouldn't have allowed the behavior to continue. I wouldn't have manifested that type of person in if I didn't have a base, like some sort of like unworthiness underlying there, because he would like, yeah, bring down my, I already said that, bring down my worth. And then there would be highs where he would like be building me up. So it was like I said, if you just list all of the red flags, it's quite obvious. So anyway, it's a whole thing, guys. I hope that this video helps somebody. If you feel like you're in a relationship that isn't right, like if you're questioning it, it's probably not right. It's probably not right if you're questioning it. If you don't feel good about it, it's probably not good. Yeah. Listen to your intuition. It's not just law of assumption. I think there are levels to it. I think there are lessons to be learned through adversity and through situations. So that is my new perspective. I don't think that the SB community is completely 100% toxic. Obviously, like, I'm sure people manifest specific people and it works out fine. Just in my particular situation, this is what happened. Okay? I appreciate you for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.